Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dog River. My name is Karen. I'm a producer at Verite Films, which means I'm one of the people who make Corner Gas happen. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. This is the Corner Gas Cast's first convention appearance and first panel together. So they are loving it. They are so excited. They can't wait to come out, and I can't wait to bring them out. Are you ready to meet the cast? All right. So she's the town matriarch with a recipe for disaster, delicious disaster. Please welcome Emma, Corrine Koslo. I'm gonna get you to sit at the phone, sorry. She's smarter than everyone, and boy, does she let them know it. Please say hello to Nancy Robertson as Wanda. She's eager to find crime wherever it may be hiding, and often places where it isn't. Here's Karen, Tara Spencer-Nairn. I think that's going to break down right here. He is always car number one, so don't cross Davis. Lorne Cardinal.
I have something to say. Sorry. I was just checking to see if
there's only one word I can say about this guy, jackass.
Here. I don't have a microphone.
Yeah, do not give him, yeah.
And just because I say jackass all the time.
And, of course, the man without whom none of this would be possible, Brent Butt.
Have you heard of the YouTube? It's very popular. Never last.
So, we are here for 15 years of Corner Gas.
How long are we here? I have commitments.
I don't.
You signed off on from the sitcom, then the movie, now we're doing animation. I think that's something worth celebrating. Brent, can you tell us about building this world once you're finished setting up?
Yeah, I got getting priorities. I'll tell you about. I can kind of tell you how this came together. Really, the notion was many years ago, the early 2000s. I had. I was starting to write a movie, which could take place anywhere really. And I thought, well, I've never seen a story really take place. You never see small town Saskatchewan, where I grew up. So I started writing it. The movie took place, and the main character ran a gas station. As I was writing it, I realized I wasn't really liking the story very much for the movie, but I was really liking writing for these characters, and the jokes were coming easy, and everything except the story was coming easy. So a while later, I was thinking to myself, what would my life be like if I hadn't pursued show business? And I thought I'd probably still be hanging out at the gas station. And that tweaked that movie that I was writing. And I thought, instead of a movie, I'm going to make a small town gas station the setting for a sitcom. So I wrote a little treatment for a sitcom, a little 4-page treatment, and then in typical Brent Butt fashion, I did nothing with it. I set it aside. Sometimes I just kind of write things to purge them. And so, freshly purged from my head, I set it aside. And then David Storey, who was the director that I had worked with on a TV show once before, invited me to go for coffee, and he said, listen, the network is interested to know if you have any show ideas, any TV show ideas. I'd like to do a TV show with you. And I said, well, I wrote this thing about a gas station in Saskatchewan, but I can't imagine that anyone would be remotely interested in making a TV show of a gas station in Saskatchewan. He said, well, I'll tell them about it. And then he told them about it, and he said they're interested, and we started having meetings, and that's kind of how it came together.
So now you know.
Now you know. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
So this is the cast's first Fan Expo, like I said. Can you guys tell me how you feel being here? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like it's a whole different world. No, but it's a very cool world. Like I'm looking, there's Shazam, on his t-shirt, and I just watched Shazam for the first time and figured it all out. So it's a whole new world. On the plane?
I'll be honest with you, she didn't figure it out.
Well, I had help, but no, this is really great.
We're going to do a Q&A a little bit later, so hang on to your question, but I will come back to you. Brent, have you never been to a convention before? I know you're a comic book fan.
I grew up as a big comic book geek. One of the things I thought I might do in my life is draw comic books, as I always loved to draw. I was superhero crazy, and the only two things I really thought about doing in my life seriously, aside from being a goalie in the NHL, which I knew early on that was not likely to happen. You can't let in 9 goals a game at the midget level and expect a lot of heat from the scouts. So comic book artist or stand-up comic, those are the two things, and I was really driven to do stand-up comedy. But yeah, I've never been to a convention despite being a bit of a superhero nerd growing up.
So now that we're in on the animated series, how did you come up with that idea, like making this from live action to animated?
It kind of came about like this, because I always thought after we wrapped up the series, we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could come back in a few years and do a movie, and that would be the cherry on top. And that's kind of what we thought we had done. We made the movie, and we all kind of had our tearful hugs, and we went our separate ways, thinking that would be the end of it. But too many of you came to the movie. What happened was, the movie was a big hit. It was selling out theaters. My brother called me from Calgary and said, I can't get into your stupid movie. It's sold out. So, I was supposed to be upset by that. Oh, I'm very sorry. So what happened, and Cineplex got a hold of the network, and they said, could we have it in theaters for an extra weekend? Because the response from fans was so fantastic. So that response made the network call up and say, listen, there's still clearly an appetite for this group of characters in this small town. Would you like to do more episodes? But we kind of thought, well, we don't want to just go back and do the same thing. But at the same time, you like to be employed. You like to have a job. So we said, if we were going to do something, what could we do? And since graphic illustration and cartooning is in my background, actually, after high school, I went to Oakville, out here in Ontario, to the Sheridan College. I was going to study animation. I left after 4 days. I believe I left during orientation week. But animation was always, something I loved, and so it was a pretty natural thing for us to go, hey, what if we tried animating it?
So how do the rest of you feel about being animated?
I love it.
Why do you love it?
Well, I've never liked watching myself on the television. And this performance as a cartoon is the only time I've ever liked seeing myself on the television. I'm damn good as a cartoon in this. That's why I love it.
I made them give me a waist.
Sadly, they took it from me.
I did ask to be a couple inches taller. I look younger.
So now we never age. It's beautiful. It's like we remain sort of. It's nice.
It's creepy. It's a little creepy.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Also, my kids are now interested because now I'm a cartoon. So
Oh,
like, they tried to watch the live action. They're like, we like the cartoon.
Are there any differences in the writer's room writing for animated?
Let me run another battery.
Uh-oh.
I did bring others. I just don't want to do the whole rigmarole there. It's mostly the same. Writing is mostly the same. When I first, we were in a fortunate position when we first started kicking around the idea of doing an animated. One of the guys who wrote on Corner Gas, his name is Norm Hiscock. He's a very funny comedy writer. He's written for Kids in the Hall and Saturday Night Live and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Anyway, he was one of the writers on Corner Gas. He was also a writer on King of the Hill. So here was a guy who understood our show and understood primetime adult animation. So right away I went to him and I said, listen, Norm, we're thinking of doing Corner Gas as an animated show. What would we do differently? He stopped me right there. He said, nothing. Don't do anything differently. He said, this is the perfect show to animate. We just write more scripts. That's all we have to do. And so that's kind of been the backbone of it. But the difference is, you know how in the live action show we always had these little fantasy pop-outs, you could see what one of the characters was thinking or something. And so anything you can come up with, you can do there, except in the real world you do have limitations of budget and practicality and physics and the law. The law is always horning its nose in there, what you can and can't do. But in the animated world, anything you can draw, you can get away with. So that allows us to have a bit more fun with those fantasy sequences that we pop out, and we're trying to really take advantage. In fact, in the very first episode, one of the things the network said is, why animate? And so, I don't know how many of you have seen the first episode of the animated? In that episode...
What's up with the rest of you?
Seen it a lot of times.
We're working on it.
Can't see it there.
In that episode, we'll get to it. We're working on it.
Yes. Yeah.
In that episode, we do a fantasy sequence where Brent kind of imagines Corner Gas is set up in the middle of the desert, post-apocalyptic. It's surrounded in barbed wire, and a horde of post-apocalyptic warriors and machines roll over the desert. We did that specifically because that's something we could not have done in real life. We couldn't have made all those machines, employed all those people, all for like a 20-second joke. So that's the type of thing we can do in animation that we couldn't do in real world.
Corrine and Lorne and Eric, I know you guys have worked a lot in theater and in live action and now in animation. How do you feel about the differences between those?
Well, the first thing is the animation is so much fun. I grew up, I don't know about you guys, but Bugs Bunny was my everything. I think I based my entire career on those cartoons. Comedy, anyway, I loved it. So the great thing about coming in to do the cartoon is you don't have to worry about your hair and your makeup. You can get on the bus.
Forget about it.
Sure, it's wonderful. But I guess the differences are only in that sense, because you're always trying to be as truthful as you can and have as much fun as you can and connect with the people you're recording with as you would, on film and television. So that part of it is very similar. But these scripts are so much fun. I will say, we laugh.
You laugh a lot.
A lot.
We burn a lot of money wasting time laughing. Sorry, Brent. We're by city, by the way.
Yes.
We record in Vancouver and Toronto at the same time, so it's great to meet over the headphones, and we get caught up on who's doing what, where, and why.
Whoa.
Don't say that too loudly, because then Cosmic is going to stop working with us.
I just meant in the sense that there's a lot of cushions in the studio.
We could have cushions.
Yeah, the Vancouver studio is very nuts and bolts, let's get the job done. Toronto studio, it's like you're inside I Dream a Genie's bottle. It's just
Pretty awesome.
silk and cushions everywhere.
And orange.
Yeah.
It's called the Orange Lounge, yeah.
It's incredible. They're both great.
Do you guys miss filming together in Saskatchewan?
Absolutely. 'cause-
Yeah, I do,
Yeah, our crew is what I miss the most because we had an incredible crew for 6 years working with us, and so I miss all those wonderfully talented people.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's a different intimacy that you have, like amongst your cast and everyone, when you're working together in a scene and you're working through it, and you'll be doing a scene for 3 hours sometimes, and you live with the words and you live with the work, and you kind of process it in such a different way. Like I miss doing that in the scenes.
It's funny when you watch the animated version, and I find sometimes that I'm moving with her, going, I wouldn't do that, like, or I would do that, or like you're kind of, I miss the physicality of it, but it's also, it's really interesting too. I don't remember the episodes because when you're doing the live action, you have it all memorized, well, most of the time. And you're physically doing it take after take after take, so it sticks with you, where after we record an animated episode, I walk away and go, what happened? But there's so many advantages to both, and, jeepers, excuse the language, how lucky are we to be able to experience it in television, in film, and animated? I mean, it's just been terrific.
#blessed.
One of the things that hasn't changed is the tradition, like we saw in that highlights reel, of having well-known Canadians do cameo appearances. Can you guys tell us how that got started?
Somebody else asked me that. I'm trying to remember the first time that it was like, I mean, in the very first/second episode that we shot, because we would always shoot 2 at a time, the Taxman episode. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I'm paying for your salary, buddy boy.
I reached out to Kevin McDonald to see if he would play the Taxman, because I used to do stuff with the kids in the hall. That's right, a Taxman.
It's amazing.
And you guys rehearsed that? That was very in unison.
That was a great take.
Yeah, I got a little frightened there. So that was the first time that we had, a guest star of note on the show. That might have been what spurred it, but I can't remember, because they would always kind of come organically. It would be like we would be writing, and then somebody would have an idea, it'd be funny if so-and-so would do that thing, and then we'd write it up and say, well, let's see if we can get them. But I can't remember the very first time we did it, but it became like, they mostly happened organically.
Does anybody have a wish list for the next ones, assuming we get the option to have next ones?
Who?
Basketball player.
Of course, a basketball player, yeah.
And I would like to be in the scene.
And we can record it in that silk-covered cushion. Yeah.
In the Orange Lounge.
Yeah.
He's taking his talents to Bob's Burgers. I've always had, and we reached out to him in the live action and we couldn't make it happen. One of my comedy heroes is Bob Newhart. And I always had this storyline where Bob Newhart was my grandfather, Oscar's father, the exact opposite of us, the most laid-back person you could ever imagine. And Oscar, whenever he's around, Oscar reverts to a very rebellious young teenager, and he's always like, get off my back, Dad! But he's like the most mellow guy in the world. Oh, do whatever you like. So that's something that, I don't think Bob is doing a lot now, but he, the notion of having him just do a voice seems like it might be doable.
John Travolta is here today. I think Emma would love to go dancing and make Oscar jealous.
Duly noted.
Duly noted. I would be jealous too.
I think Tom Hardy should join, because Wanda has not had a boyfriend in 50 years. And I think he could make up for him. But never mind.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
He's always begging me to be in the show. And so far, I've been giving him the stiff arm, but now that I know, there's interest. Shatner, yeah.
Whoa.
We share a lawyer.
William Shatner. Oh, yeah.
Small
What
town
about the
Canada.
Ryans together? Like
Gosling?
dueling Ryans.
Ryan Gosling.
Gosling,
Ryan
Reynolds, and Beale.
Yeah.
We're all making notes up here. I wanted to talk a bit about what some of you guys do outside of Corner Gas as well. Like, Nancy, you've been filming a movie this summer with a couple of big names, Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec, and
Yep.
Alison Hannigan from Buffy and How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it?
I can't actually, this is so like, I can't say a lot about it. Like everything was, but it's from the book, Flora and Ulysses, which is kind of
What
a
character you are?
yeah. So and I play Julie Twickham. And so it's based on the book, and it's written by Brad Upton, who was one of the head writers for Arrested Development. So it's a very cool version, like it's a very cool Disney film in the sense that, don't get me wrong, Disney's great, but it's got cool stuff in for everybody. But I can't kind of go into, if you read the book, I bet you'll figure out who I'm playing. But it's not huge, I'm not in it all over the place, but it's been fun to do that. And also, I just want to say that a week from Wednesday, you can see me on Beverly Hills 90210. Me up, but it just does.
Cracks me up.
It just cracks me
Fantastic.
up. So, yeah. So no, it's fun to do other stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Lorne-
all. Yeah, sure.
Why not? Lauren, you work all across the country, and
Yes.
as an Edmonton girl, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Roxy Theatre and the Lorne Cardinal studio there. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, the Roxy Theatre in Edmonton on 124th Street, about 3 years ago, I think it is, 3 or 4 years ago, burnt down. And I've done a lot of theatre in that building with that company for years over the decades. So they're in the midst of a rebuilding campaign, and the new design they have the Nancy Powers Theatre, which is a 200-seat theater. It's going to be state-of-the-art. It's going to be gorgeous. And they're also instituting a 90-seat black box theater, and they want to name it the Lorne Cardinal Studio, which is kind of awesome. But, I know, really. So we're still a couple years away from getting it done, but there is a fundraising campaign, Theater, Roxy Theater, check that out. And so that's going to be awesome, and then I get to have a decision in what's going to be the first
Cool.
pieces of theater that's going to be there, and I'm hoping we'll do something, and I can get these guys to come and show up, and
Yes.
we'll do a little fundraiser cabaret type of event. So it's in the works. So
Very
that's
cool.
pretty awesome. Yeah,
is.
thank you.
So, Tara, you've popped up on. Pay attention. Get off your Instagram.
No. It was work related.
Totally, yeah.
Also, his Instagram.
She naps a little, but
You've popped up on so many of the best-known Canadian shows. Like I've got The Listener, Flashpoint, Murdoch Mysteries, Degrassi, Frankie Great. When you walk on set, does everybody ask you about Corner Gas?
There's always what I get a lot, actually, it's like one of the grips or something who's like, hey, my dad really likes your show.
yeah.
Can I get a selfie so I can give it to my dad? Is this really for your dad? But I do get a lot of that. But no, not really. I feel like Toronto and Canada, it's such a small film community that everybody really kind of knows everyone, and we've all worked together, and it is always weird to sort of jump onto like a new set, but then you realize you know everybody in the crew and you know everybody that you're working with, and it's old hat. You're like, oh God, she's here again.
Speaking of Canadiana, how are you coping with the highs and lows of being a Raptors fan this summer?
You know what? I think you have to be grateful for the gifts that you were given. And Kawhi was a gift. He did not want to come here, but he came here. We did not know if he was going to play, and he played so well. He gave us the Larry O'Brien, and now he has left, and he's doing wonderful things for his hometown. So I will just take that. I will enjoy this year of being the world champions. And it's going to suck because the prices are going to be more expensive. But God, that was the best night, right? Woo! Lost my voice. Couldn't talk for days. Woo!
And Corrine, you're also part of another iconic Canadian series. What can you tell us about Anne with an E?
And with an E. Well, I can tell you that season 3 starts September 22nd on CBC. It's going to be a remarkable season.
It's on Netflix too.
It is, yes. It's a co-pro with Netflix and CBC. I've been a stage actor for 38 years, so suddenly I was sort of thrown into a situation where I hadn't done a lot of film and television. I had done some animation before having the great opportunity to work with all of these guys. So it's been a great learning curve, and I just think, as we get older, if we have the opportunity to keep learning and growing as an artist or a human being, I feel like I've just been given so many gifts in the last 3 years, and this one especially has been incredible. These are really, they don't just pretend to be nice, they're actually really terrific. It's a great show, people to work with. But yes, Anne with an E is coming out, and it's a reimagined take on Anne with an E. It's taking a look at all the situations in our lives and trying to reimagine what it would have been like in 1892 with some of the things that probably went on, more diversity, Indigenous situations, everything. It's. I hope you watch, and I hope you're watching this show.
Also, I just want to plug quickly, there's a new series on CBC Kids coming out called Molly of Denali. I play Grandpa Nat in that, and it's a perfect show for the 4 to 8-year-old in you.
Start them
So
on
that's
that
be
one
awesome.
and then graduate them to Corner Gas.
Yeah.
Damn, there was just a baby here. They should have known
I
that.
know.
Maybe they'll come back to a photo opera to the signings. So Eric, you've shown up on a couple of genre shows recently. You've been on
What is a genre show now?
That's the
type of
time you
show
had
that
no
comes
clothes
here.
on.
That's the one I had no clothes on.
Yeah.
Well, that was Corner Gas.
Oh, that was Corner Gas, yeah, the wrinkly purse.
So now we have to...
Sorry, we've lowered
No, I wanted to talk about Umbrella Academy and American Gods. I got about...
Oh, American Gods.
Tell us about those. And
There's not much to say, really. I was thankful I wasn't killed on those shows. I'd been watching Fargo, and I noticed that I'd suddenly go, oh, I know that guy. Then an actor would come on, and they inevitably got killed. So I realized, because this is the service industry, the American film and television industry is up here shooting, it's our service industry in a way, that the local hires, which I would be, often were the victims. And so in both those shows, it was fun. I mean, I don't think I've ever worked on such rich shows. Like American Gods, we're used to doing 10, 12, 20, 102 pages a day of shooting, like big time, really moving it. They were doing like 2 pages. Lots of equipment. It was fascinating. But I wasn't so much a character or an actor on this show as I was a movable set piece. I kind of went with the location they had. Yeah, so that was my experience of it. I was thankful for it. It's really helped the bank account last year. So welcome to Canada, you Americans.
And Brent, I know you've been touring your stand-up around the country. What's up next?
I'd have to look at my calendar. What's next? Stand-up is my kind of first love. It's the thing that I always, for me, I think everything kind of spokes off of stand-up as a hub. I kind of feel I learned how to be funny. I learned how to write and craft and everything from stand-up, and it's still my very favorite thing to do. So I just tour I was just here. You can keep an eye out for this. I was just here. I recorded my very first stand-up special at the Danforth Music Hall here in Toronto last month. Mm-hmm. And it was a fantastic night. It was great crowd, fantastic night. Couldn't have gone better. And so now it's in the process of being edited into a thing. Other people are working to put it together right now, and hopefully we'll know. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you stay in touch, or on the Butt Pod on YouTube, you'll stay in touch with. I'll let you know when the special's coming out and where and all that kind of stuff.
So I just got the 10-minute sign. We've got cut a little bit short. So are you guys all right if I just jump straight to audience
Yeah,
Q&A?
you can do it.
All right, I saw, who had her in the glasses in the back? Not you. You next. You were first.
Well, I have a question for Brent, but first, I think you forgot to mention Eric's work on Street Legal.
The reboot, yes. It was on so short, I even forgot that I was on it.
You and Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, have problems.
When you started writing about current cast, and the ensemble cast is great, what made you choose these individuals for your
Just they were awesome. Really, is really what it came down to. I had in mind for all or almost all the characters in Corner Gas, I had people in mind that I thought would be perfect. And all those people pretty much auditioned for the parts, and I didn't hire any of them. It was kind of a valuable lesson for me, coming from the stand-up world into the more acting world. The audition process for Corner Gas really taught me the value of really good actors and what they bring to the table, because I was kind of outside that world. And what I found was the actors who could make these characters seem the most real, the comedy was funniest when the characters seemed the most real. And good actors can do that. They don't come in and just play the comedy. These are all funny people. They all can play comedy, and they do. But as actors, I think, and they can speak to it more than me, but they make the characters real first. They make you believe that they exist in the world. And for me, it's just much funnier to hear somebody say something stupid if they really believe that it's... if you believe that person actually feels and thinks that, it just makes everything more... comedy is authenticity, really, and the more authentic the characters in the comedy can be, the funnier it is. And these people all just came in and nailed it, frankly, that's all.
So the other guy with the glasses.
Man, when I haven't heard the Corner Gas theme song in quite some time, and when I was like, oh, this would be cool. When that Oz music started playing, it like punched me in my emotions, and I was like, oh, and I was like fighting back tears. I was like, what is going on? What is happening right now? And then for like the past half hour, I've just been like close to like tears. Like, I don't know what it is about the show that like I love so much, but like thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
You're gonna get us going now.
Seeing as it's like your first convention, I feel honored to ask you like a typical convention question.
Sure.
So it's for Brent, but I I'd love to hear anybody's opinion on this. Marvel or DC?
Marvel. I've always been Marvel. I do very much love Batman. That's for me the exception to the rule, but otherwise I was very much a Marvel guy growing up.
Which one is the Archies? Marvel? Kinda? Okay.
Not really.
Sorry, I'm too old. I didn't have comic books when I was a kid.
That's untrue. No, black hair, red and white top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's Glenn.
This is for Karen. May I hug you?
Is that allowed?
I didn't know we could just ask you to hug us.
While she's hugging.
Finally! My comeuppance!
I'm just gonna say no. Like that was cool, but if you want to hug, let's not have every other question be somebody get up and hug me, please. Black glasses, white shirt, yes.
Hi, my name is David. I'm from Regina.
Hey! We're writers.
Go Riders. You know, I was part of your Kickstarter. We danced in Rollo. Anyway, my
Together?
friends from Europe. I want to bring you to Saskatchewan. What's the best part of Saskatchewan that you guys have seen?
I enjoy the flat part.
The Deer Valley Golf Course.
Quappel Valley.
Yeah.
Quappel Valley is gorgeous, very
Yeah.
beautiful. Take him to one of the 100,000 lakes in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Ireland to Saskatchewan Lakes. It's a very
That's that bar we used to always go to.
Oh,
I like that.
Hanlon's.
Oh, Hanlon's.
Hanlon's Pub.
Oh, Hanlon's
Yeah.
Pub,
Oh,
yeah.
Hanlon's, that's-
That was owned by an Irish fella. And he would sell us alcohol.
Against his natural instincts. Yeah.
We also got a couple of questions on social media from people who couldn't make the trek. Marina Hager wanted to know what everybody's favorite moment from the show was.
That's hard, eh?
That is
There must have been
so
at
many.
least 2 million of them.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you pick a moment?
For me, I remember the moment when I got the phone call saying they want to do this as a series. They want to do.
That would have been a good moment.
Yeah.
Moment.
I actually I had a hard time processing it. I kept saying, "What do you mean?" When they were telling me, "No, they want to make the show." What do you mean? No, you know that show you wrote. They want to do it. How so? What do you say?
When I was wearing a Safety Pete outfit. I was pretty awesome because in between takes I had an AC hose right down the back, which was the most incredible feeling ever. Because it was like 30 Celsius outside or something. So.
My favorite moments were anytime I was in the Ruby eating those French fries.
Oh, our props department made the best fries.
Good
best
fries. Never regretted the fries.
The Americans. Sorry, I'm going to try and bounce it.
The Americans.
Yeah, I know. I try and
There's
get as
only
many
2 of
questions
them,
as
so-
possible. So do your favorite moment quick, and then the American.
Oh, no, go to the
No.
Americans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've spoken earlier about the fantasy that's available now in the animation and about stunt casting, as it were, with some of the special guests. Are you in a place where you think you might do full episodes that are crossovers, fantasy? Like, I think Karen and Davis might really help Detective Murdoch and Officer Crabtree. And then one other thing, Woolerton sucks.
What was the question?
Whether CBC and CTV will
Yeah,
ever
that'll
work
be
together.
it's the thing. It's the whole Marvel DC notion, right? CBC, CTV. You know, we have our 2 big networks here. I don't know if they want to play ball.
But there was amalgam.
What network was the Archies on?
Okay, we've got two more minutes. We're going to try and get in 2 more very quick questions. Bearded guy at the back there. Woman next to the bearded guy at the back there.
I just want to say you guys are all amazing. I watch you every day.
Oh, thank you.
It'd be a true honor if I could be called a jackass.
Hey!
You're a jackass.
Can we get the cat girl? Are you a cat girl? I'm sorry.
Sort of.
Sailor Moon!
Sailor Moon.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't see the rest of you. Just
Pink Stone.
Question for Emma. How was it for you coming to the show after, like, as the new person, working with people who have already worked together for years?
That's a really good question. Well, it was complicated. It was bittersweet. It was full of melancholy, full of. Janet Wright was an amazing Canadian actor. She was iconic on this show. She's an iconic Canadian star. She was also a dear friend. So for me, it's an absolute honor that Emma gets to go on. And I think this company of actors have been nothing but incredibly kind, open, warm. I felt from the get-go that I was going to be okay. I was very nervous at the beginning, I'm not going to lie, because I wanted to make sure that I honored Janet. as much as I could, but also bring myself to the work as well, so that the audiences would remember Janet always, and she was always a part of it, but that I could bring myself to it as well. But it's been an incredible, incredible honor. It's an incredible journey, and I can't tell you, for me to be able to do this for Janet, it's a wonderful thing.
You've been awesome.
So well that it was, you know, it's hard to come in even as an actor, or even when you're just popping in as you know, as a guest star, or you're going on like a show that you weren't at the beginning. She came in and it was just, she melted in like butter. It was so amazing. And there were times, and when recording, you know, when we're in Vancouver and you guys are in Toronto and we hear your voice and your take, and it's like there's some stardust going on, because we feel you bringing Janet, but you're also bringing yourself, and just, it's like Janet's never gone, but it's like Queen has always been there. Do you know what I mean? So it's been, I just think, just been so wonderful.
All right, so we got a lot of questions about whether you'd ever do another convention. What do you think?
Yes. And I want us to dress up next time.
So if you traveled to get here, then tell your local con you want to see us. I'm just saying, maybe we can come to you next time, but that's it for this time. We've got photo ops at 3 and autograph signings. If you missed us this morning, we're back at our table at 4. And thank you guys so much for coming out and doing this.
Thank you, everybody.